about Herman Talmadge and exactly what he had to do with the civil rights movement. The standard is Standard 11, evaluating the role of Georgia in the modern civil rights movement. And the element that we find Herman Talmadge in is element A, describe the major developments in civil rights and Georgia's role during the 1940s and 1950s. So we're going to include the role of Herman Talmadge. So when you're creating your tip chart or looking for information, I'm going to use the New Georgia Encyclopedia. And we just go up here to the search bar and type in his name. And then you have several results, and you can see where you have 116 results that come up. So I'm going to select the first article here on Herman Talmadge, and you can get some information from the description, but it's really best to go to the article itself. So the first thing we notice is his date of birth and the year in which he died. I always like to look at the pictures first just to kind of get an idea for what he looked like. And then we're going to get just some basic information. When you're looking for this, we want to keep our topic in mind. It's who is he and what does he have to do with the civil rights movement, or what impact did he make? So we look up here, and in the first couple of lines we see Herman Talmadge was the son of Eugene Talmadge. He was the governor of Georgia for a brief time in 1947, and then again from 1948 to 54. So we definitely want to know that information. And then we come down again and we see that he was elected to the U.S. Senate in 1956. And he served there until he was defeated in 1980. So I think that for our purposes, that's enough of some basic information about who he is to get us started. When we scroll down, I'm going to look at his gubernatorial years, and that means those are the years in which he was the governor of the state of Georgia. And I'm just going to kind of scan through and look for some information. I'm going to look for some of those dates that we've talked about. In the standard, or in our element, it talks about the 1940s and 50s, so I want to look for those numbers to kind of pop out on the page. So we see where we can read about the three governors controversy and how he was involved in that. And then we come down here and we see May 1954, when the U.S. Supreme Court struck down segregation. So I know that that's where we're going to start looking at information related to the civil rights movement. When we come to this part, this paragraph mentions some of the positive and progressive things that Herman Talmadge did for the state, which is good. We want to look for those positive changes in our government. But then we get to some of the issues that we talked about in class. Herman Talmadge was a segregationist, and it says it right here. Talmadge was a staunch segregationist who resisted all attempts to integrate the public school system. So that's one of these pieces of information that you're going to want to include. There's some information about the Brown versus the Board of Education, where it struck down segregation and said that it was unconstitutional. This is our other piece of information. He was among the loudest critics of the court decision and wrote a book entitled You and Segregation. So what do you think that means his attitude would be towards civil rights if he was a segregationist and if he was a critic, or which meant that he did not want the integration of public schools? So that's what you need to incorporate into your response.